friends, and welcome back to my channel. My name is Marcy and I'm really glad to be hanging out with you today. Today we are going to cover a topic that I've had on my list ever since I first started this YouTube channel. I've been wanting to do this and it just never quite worked into my schedule. But today's the day. We have a new year, 2023, and we're going to learn something new today. So what is the topic? Today we are going to talk about those pesky Roman numerals that sometimes pop up when we are looking at our old books. When I first started getting into junk journaling, I saw a lot of creators, they'd open the book and try to figure out the copyright date, and then they'd be met with a series of letters instead of numbers, and they either would Google it to translate into the actual date, or they would just say, never mind, and move on. But the truth of the matter is that Roman numerals are so simple to decipher. When I was in third grade, I remember asking my teacher, how do you read Roman numerals? Remember at the end of all the movies and stuff, there would be that hand that would come in and just like chisel an M and a C and an M and some other stuff, and it would show up on that stone tablet. So I was fascinated. So I asked her, how on earth do you read Roman numerals? And she, very wisely, said, why don't you go look it up? Now the truth of the matter is she probably didn't know, so she said that. But at least she told me that, and that taught me that it's okay if you're not sure about something to go look it up and to go find out the information for yourself, which I did, and I was so surprised at how easy that even I, a little 8-year-old who wasn't that great at math, could figure this out so simply. You gotta hand it to the Romans. They were geniuses at keeping things simple and just the masters of always finding a better way to do something, and this is no exception. Why don't you guys go ahead and grab your stuff if you want to craft along, or if you want to grab a notepad and take notes. We're going to get started right after this. You guys can confess, how many of you have opened the book to see the list of numbers and then said, never mind, and moved on? How many? Raise your hands. It's okay. Don't be ashamed. This is a safe space. Yes, I see you over there in the back. Okay, it's all right. Today we're going to fix that problem forever, and you guys are going to be among those in the know. So as you see, I have been collecting material for quite some time, and what I was trying to do was find examples of Roman numerals that are a little bit out of the ordinary that you typically don't see. And so I did that, and I even found a poem, and we'll go over that at the end, but I was very delighted to find it because it made my job easier. So I took notes. I watched a couple of other videos. Almost all of them are aimed towards children. Mine is going to be aimed at us as adults. The things that you really need to remember are, first of all, Roman numerals are made up of 7 symbols, just 7. And with that, you can produce any combination of numbers. Mnemonics, there were a couple of them out there that they used. Obviously, I had trouble spelling mnemonics here. But the 7 symbols are an I, V, X, L, C, D, and M. And so the 2 different mnemonics that they had out there, the first one was, I value xylophones like cows do milk. It doesn't really make sense, but it will help you remember it. And also know that these go in order of the numerical value from smallest to largest. The other one, if this one helps you better, I value x-rays. Let's count the doctor's money. That one made me laugh. So no matter which way you remember it, or however you want to come up with your own way to remember it, these are the 7 symbols. Now, the next one that I don't remember learning, but I might have. I was 8 years old, you know, it's a long time ago. No more than 3 of the same symbol in a row. So you can have like an XVIII, but you can't have XVIII. Let me grab a piece of scratch paper. Okay, so X, V, I. I don't always do this. I just do straight lines. You can do this. This one is okay. But X, V, I. not okay, no bueno, okay? And we'll talk about that here in just a second, and then we'll figure out what those mean. So, when a smaller number appears before a larger number, it gets subtracted. So if you have an L in front of a C, it gets subtracted. Okay, this is your order, and I didn't tell you what they equal yet, so we're going to find out in a minute. When a smaller number appears after a larger number, then it gets added together. Okay, so let's first talk about what those values are, and we're going to go through I value xylophones like cows do milk. There they are. So I stands for the number 1. So it equals 1. V equals 5. Now X equals 10. And what I still remember this from when I was little. It was because what they did was they stacked a V up and down so that 5 plus 5 equaled 10, and they came up with X. L equals 50. C equals 100. D, which you very rarely see, is 500. And M equals 1,000. Okay? So that's how the order goes. So we can't have more than 3 of the same value in a row. So looking at this, if we want to decipher what this number is, I just came up with off the top of my head, we'd have X, V, I. Well, we know that X equals 10. And because we have a V, which is a smaller value, following the X, we know we're going to add it. So the V was 5. And then we have 1, 2, 3. So 3 ones in a row, plus 3. So we know that this is 10 plus 5 is 15, plus 3 more equals 18. Now, following that formula, this would be obviously 19 because we added another 1 right there. But we can't have 4 in a row. So going back to our rules, when a smaller number appears before a larger number, it gets subtracted. That means that if we wanted to write 19, we'd have to write 10 plus, to get the 9, we'd have to do 10 minus 1. Boy, we're looking like algebra here all of a sudden. Which would be 9, right? 10 minus 1 was 9 to get to 19. And if we wanted to write that, the 10 would be the X. The 9 would be 10 minus 1, and we want to have 10, but to subtract 1, we have to put it in front. So it would be X, IX. So 10, take the 1 away from the other 10 equals 9, and 10 and 9 equal 19. Now remember, I wasn't good at math, so this all made sense to me, so I'm trusting it will to you too, because you guys are all probably way better at it than me. So that's it. I mean, just 7 symbols, no more than 3 of the same symbol in a row. If the number is smaller and it appears in front of, like this, the number is smaller and it appears in front of a larger number, it gets subtracted. If the number is smaller and it appears after a larger number, it gets added. Okay? So that's it. Now, with that in mind, I brought us a ton of examples to practice. I've been collecting, and they've just been sitting in a corner in my room. It's going to be nice to have those all gone. So let's start with this one here. Okay? So this is an example of a little golden book. I noticed it because it's unusual to me to see a Roman numeral in a little golden book. But this one says MCM XCVII. And remember, I don't put my little, I'm not doing my eyes like this. I just do a stick because it's easier, because it's fast. Okay? So given everything that we know, I'll put my little handwritten notes right here. Given everything that we have learned, and I'm going to let you in on a little secret. Almost everything we see, at least in this century. Almost everything starts with MCM, and you're just going to start to recognize that and know immediately off the bat that it is 1,000 plus 100 from 1,000, which is 900. MCM is always going to equal 1900 because most of the stuff that we're going to see was all published in the 1900s. So almost everything you're going to see starts with MCM, and you're going to know right off the bat, okay, 1900 and what? Okay, so here we go. We have an X, that's 10, and it's in front of the C, which is 100, right? So we're going to subtract. And 10 from 100 equals 90. And then we have the V, which is 5. And then we have 2 I's, which is 2. And when we put all that together, we get 1,997. 1,997. So it was published or copyrighted or whatever, printed in 1997. And then they very kindly reaffirmed that for us by actually printing it right here. Now why it's in both, I have no idea, but it gives us some really good practice. So here's another one. I took this out of my recipe box. It's been waiting and waiting, and now I can go add it back. It's a really good recipe, by the way. I'll pause. You can take a screenshot and then go make it. Okay, so this one has MCML. Hold on, I gotta check with my glasses. XXX VIII. Wow, that is a lot of numbers. But we already learned that MCM is always going to be 1900, so we've got that figured out. Then, looking at our little chart of remembering what our numbers equal, which I just lost, so that was super convenient. Oh, it's right here. Genius. Genius level we're operating at here. Okay, so L. We figured out that L equals 50, all right? So 1900 plus 50, and then we have 10, 20, 30, so plus 30, plus we know this is 5, and we know this is 1, 2, 3, so it equals 1900, 50 and 30 is 80, and 5 and 3 is 8. So we know that we have 1988. 1988. And that's when this was published. All right. So let's go on to the next one. Here's another one of these pre-printed recipe instruction cards. This one says MCM XCVIII. Is that the same one? Oh, it's very close. It's very close to this one. So you can hazard a guess, but we're going to know that this is, oh, that was a terrible bracket. You know this is 1900 because we're smart. We've already got that figured out now. X from the C, 10 from 100 is 90, and then 5, 6, 7, 8. So that's 8, so 1900 plus 90 plus 8, 1998. Let's see, this one, my mom and I went on a pirate ship adventure when we were on a cruise long ago. And so I ran across this brochure and I actually saved it. The authentic XVIII Galleon replica. And now that we're so smart, what century would that be? XVIII would be 10 plus 5 plus 3, my paper's moving, 10, 15, 16, 17, 18. So an 18th century galleon. Okay, so moving on, let's go do another fun one. Here's our rules. Here's our little guide right up there. Sorry, we're going real high tech today, right? With all of the visual aids. I thought about using a whiteboard, but I don't have one. The only one I have has my menu plan on it. It's hanging on the side of the fridge, so I didn't really want to take that one down. Okay, so my Hebrew book. very excitingly, had some Roman numerals in the explanation, and the one that caught my eye was this one because there's a D in it. Yay, a new number to play with. Okay, so we already know that MCM is always 1900, right? Well, this one has MD, CCC, XXXIX. All right, so we know that we're going to add, because these get progressively smaller, we're going to start adding numbers, but the IX, we're going to subtract I from X, so that's a 9. 1 from 10 is 9. And we're going to go back over here. We know that's 1,000 plus D, where is he? 500. These 100, 200, 300. This is 10, 20, 30, so plus 30, plus the 9 that we already figured out, so 1,000, 500 and 300 is 800. 30 plus 9 is 39, so this here is 1,839. So 1839. Isn't that exciting? I can't tell you what the rest of that says. It's all in Latin. So it's interesting to have a Hebrew book with an introduction in Latin. None of which I can read. I don't know. Is there another one? This one might be the same. Nope. This one's a little different. So let's do this one too. MDCCC XLVIII. You guys are probably already got this and now you're bored, right? Okay, so we already know that the M1000, this was 5, 6, 7, 800. So we know that this equals 1800 plus, this is 50, this is 10, so we're going to subtract. So 50 minus 10 is 40. And we're so good, we already know 5, 6, 7, 8. That's 8. So this right here is 1,848, 1848. So that's kind of fun. It's nice to see some different numbers, right? So this was in, this is like a replica of an old school book, but I guess I should have read this first because it had those, has those principles on it. Okay, so there's our 7 numbers or 7 letters and what they represent. Now, these are all based on Latin, early Latin words. So that's how the letters came to equal the numbers, in case you care. This here outlines what I already told you, basically. Oh, a bar placed over a letter multiplies its value by 1,000. Well, that's super clever. Oh, look, so they've got more examples. Thus, V with a bar over it is 5,000. So look at this. We've got new information, folks. Interesting. So there's 500, 600, 700. They're showing how they get there. So 1,000. And MCM, we already figured out, was 1,900. But a V with a bar over it is 5,000. And an M, which is 1,000, with a bar over it, 1,000 times 1,000 is 1,000,000. Well, isn't that super clever? So then they give us some examples. So let's see if we can reverse figure this out. I have a ton more examples over here, but you know, I think you guys kind of get the point. But let's see if we could figure out how to turn this into Roman numerals. So let's start with like 996. Okay, so 900, let's see. So we know that we have to subtract 100 from 1,000 to get 900. So here's my 1,000. Going to subtract 100. So that's a C. So that's 900. What were we doing? 996. Okay, so to get 90, we can't do LXXXX. 50 plus 10, 10, 10, 10, right? Because we can only have 3 in a row. So we have to subtract 10 from 100, which would mean XC, 10 from 100, and then 6, VI. This is just a replica of an old textbook, so we're just going to trust that we're right, but I feel like we probably are. If I'm wrong, you can correct me down in the comments. But if I were to look at it, I'd be like, okay, 100 from 1,000 is 900. 10 from 100 is 90, and 5 plus 1 is 6, so I think we did it. Okay, and let's do another reverse one. Let's do, I'm going to save that one right there. We're going to make this our challenge, and you guys can put that down in the comments how you would write that. But let's do 1616. We're going to stretch our brains because not everything can start with MCM, right? So 1,616. So 1,000 M, 600, which would be 500. That was, luckily they have the key on here too, but 500 was D. Where's 500? D plus, I better write this down so I can remember what I'm trying to figure. 1,000, okay, 1,616, so 1,500, another 100 here, 600, 10, 15, 16. And we know we're right. And that is 500 plus 100. These should not be. Plus 10 plus 5 plus 6. 1,005, 600, 10, 15, oops, 16. That should be a 1. All right. I think you can probably get this. But anyway, isn't that fun? So I have a few more examples I did here. As you do it a little bit, it gets easier. So it's really, really a lot of fun. I have a little rhyme here now that I can share with you. So as I was going through books at one point and taking out pictures and taking them apart for different journal things, this little book called Memory Rhymes, I had found at a thrift store. And I don't remember when it was published. So, you know, it was like MMXXIII. I don't know, it was published somewhere in the 70s. So it had this rhyme in here that I thought was super handy. It's kind of cute. So if you wanted to commit this to memory, this was an old-fashioned children's rhyme for how they used to memorize the value of Roman numerals. It's called X shall stand for Playmates 10. So they don't do them in order of the actual from smallest to largest. They just make them rhyme so you can kind of remember. So X shall stand for Playmates 10. V for 5 stout stalwart men. I for 1 as I'm alive. C for 100 and D for 5. And then they put in parentheses 100. M for 1,000 soldiers true. And L for 50, I'll tell you. So that's just kind of another cute little way that you can remember how to read your Roman numerals. So I hope you guys found that helpful and interesting. And don't forget, put down below how you think you should write 1564 in Roman numerals. Okay, that's a tricky one. Okay, I once was watching somebody's channel. Who was it? I think it was Diane H. And she had a book that was published in the 1600s and she knew how to read them and she just rattled that right off. I was very impressed. Okay, so that is just a lot of fun and I'm really glad I finally got a chance to share this with you. So now, for our thought for the day, it comes from William Wilberforce. Lovely flowers are the smiles of God's goodness. So I'm going to leave you guys with that lovely thought and a little bit of practice. And until next time, be inspired and do something creative today. And I'll talk to you in the next video. Bye-bye now.